But it's very difficult to get access to VCs, right? Typically what people say is, okay, I've written to so many VCs, nobody has responded, etc., right?
Eventually, all marketing is a simple equation.
Help us understand, why do a VC firm needs marketing?
I think people are getting frustrated by being just seen. High agency people, active people, hustly people, they were getting a little frustrated by being a CMO who is basically approving and reviewing rather than getting their hands dirty. You and I know marketing work in certain ways. So the narrative is also very important. What is the narrative this fund is seen with? If it does not move the needle for the founder, don't do it. If it is moving the needle for the founder, 10x kar do usko. On my calendar, I actually have time blocks. This is how
I'll just review.
I'll just go through
portfolio companies and
retweet whatever is important. Blind retweet.
Your favorite shark from Shark Tank?
Piyush Bansal. He has built it through common sense. He has built it through hustle, and he has built it into a generational company now.
Welcome to yet another episode of the Slow Marketing Podcast. And today I've got a very special guest, Rohit Kaul, who is the head of marketing at Blume Ventures, an early stage venture capital firm with an AUM of around $650 million and in its 15th year, right, Rohit?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So welcome, Rohit. So glad to have you. And please, would love to get your introduction for the audience and we can then take it up from there.
Sure. Thanks, Neeraj. Lovely to be here. I think we have known now each other for close to, 7, 8, 9 years.
Yeah.
And great to see how Kreativ Street has grown over the years and how you have grown as, like a founder and as a marketer. And this podcast, I think, is in some way culmination of all of that. So great to be here. I run marketing for Blume, which is, as you rightly said, early stage venture capital fund. We invest across multiple categories. We are sector agnostic. Presence in three or four cities now, also presence in Bay Area. Some of the popular companies which probably listeners of this podcast or the viewers would have would know of would be Unacademy, Slice, Spinny, Purplle, Fashion, Freakins and all of that. So yeah, these are across different vintages. We are in a 15th year. We are a homegrown fund. So in the sense that we are actually an India-based fund versus say some of the funds which are based outside India, invest in India. And yeah, I've joined 2 years ago. It's been a great journey so far.
Great. So Rohit, and we were just talking about your career trajectory before this podcast, right? And which is very non-linear. Someone who worked at HCL, before that at Sharda, and now joining Blume, right? So just walk us through your career and how did you think about it? And for example, did it happen naturally or did you plan it this way?
Sure. So yeah, I think it's a very interesting question. And as I was saying, there was a time when I was asked this a lot in interviews, when I was applying for new opportunity and people are wondering like, what have you done? Like, why is this, you're moving across sectors and all. So if this was honestly a self-help podcast, I would have said, yes, I thought through all of that. And, I knew exactly what I was doing. None of that is true, actually. So this is how it happened. See, I'm a first generationer in my family. When I say first generational, I'll give you an example. First generation to own a car, for example. First generation to have done foreign travel. For leisure, not for work. Like leisure foreign travel. First generation to own like a house, which is like a reasonably large and comfortable setting and all, right? So, and first generation to be a post-grad, because everyone else is like grad or less than a grad, right? So when you're first generationer, there are certain things that you don't have access to. In my case, at least in the early part of my career, it was access to like having a very strong sort of mentor-mentee relationship, which essentially what it meant was, I believe that, hey, I need to make an impact and I need to make an impact now, which was also driven by how my personality is. And probably you would have seen this at some point in time when we've interacted. My personality is to always do a little bit more, like thoda aur karte hain, thoda naya karte hain, let's have 2-3 side quests and all.
Yeah.
So which sort of When after my MBA, I did sales and marketing, but this part of my personality also took me to consulting. Then I realized that I cannot just keep making slides for the rest of my life. Which is, sorry, I have very good friends in consulting, so please don't mind if the consultants are listening to this. Then I came across an opportunity in education sector, and I was very passionate about education. I'm still very passionate about education. Because I think education and healthcare are the only two places which, if a country can sort of sort out, then the country can 10x its growth. Deep impact, exactly, deep impact. So I joined Sharda University, and I joined as part of marketing and sort of chairman's office team. There's a whole long story, so I won't bore you with that. But essentially, I knew someone who worked over there. I was really keen to sort of look at this new university. I joined over there. Lots of private universities are coming up in India at that point, especially North India. And
this is early.
This was 2011.
2011.
Yeah. So before this, consulting. So some sales marketing, some consulting. Again, I was not talking to a mentor and asking them, hey, what should I do here? I was just going with my instinct, which is the other part of my personality. So I'll try to do more. And I'm, contrary to a lot of marketers, my data and instinct are like 50-50, probably 60-70 is more instinct, 30-40 is data. So I'm more instinct.
Unlike most
marketers, right? I'm very taste and instinct versus data and analytics. So went to Sharda, ran marketing there for a while. Then got this great opportunity to work at HCL and Shiv Brother Foundation, which is, the non-for-profit part of HCL. The foundation Mr. Nadar had set up. I think one thing which was consistent across these two was getting an ability to work in small emerging teams, which happened at Sharda, which also happened at Shiv Brother Foundation and HCL, and working directly with the decision makers. Worked in the chairman's office in both the places. So this 2011 to 2023, for 12 years, I was directly working with the chairman, which in HCL later shifted to Roshni. And then I was directly working and I was working in a small team because again, small team, more impact, acha kuch zyada karte hain and all.
But usually after, 10, 12 years, people start thinking, now I need bigger teams. I want to only approve things. That didn't happen with you?
Yeah, very good question. So in fact, I had a midlife conversation with myself. I won't call it crisis, but midlife conversation with myself, looking at the trajectories of some of the people whom I greatly admire. Were all CMOs. And I saw two things happening. I saw that, and this is when I was mid-30s, late 30s actually. I saw that, hey, all the CMOs who are now crossed 40 are basically now, don't want to make light of the work, but are more review and approval sort of workflows. And they're moving from CMO to CMO to CMO. Like an average tenure of a CMO in large companies has crashed like anything. People not spending even 2.5 hours. Years, not hours. I hope it's not hours. And I thought, hey, you will not become a CEO. Right? CMO, then they become advisors. The other trajectory I was seeing is, I think people are getting frustrated by being just CMO. High agency people, active people, hustly people, they were getting a little sort of, frustrated by being a CMO who is basically approving and reviewing rather than getting their hands dirty. So what they were doing is they were quitting and they were starting their own shop, like a small boutique consulting firm, advisory firm, and they'll go and they'll work directly with young founders, young brands, try to help them scale it, shape it, and nurture it in different ways. These are two trajectories I was seeing. People who would cross, say, 40, 42, 43, 45, experienced marketers. And I was in my late 30s, and I chanced upon this book by Clayton Christensen, which basically is How Will You Measure Your Life? And there he talks about the fact that, hey, at 37, he was 37-year-old when he went for his PhD. He had a wife, kids. He had already run a successful startup, sold it. But at that point, he again had this conversation with himself and maybe his mentors. He said, PhD and professorial role is which suits him best. Spend 4 or 5 years doing a PhD. And all his seminal work, Innovator's Dilemma, Innovator's Solution, everything that we know Clayton Christensen for, happened after his 40s. So, which basically gave me a lot of confidence saying, hey, I may not be that intellectually savvy as Clayton Christensen, but there is some scope for me. What should I do which sits well with the kind of person I am? Small teams, high impact, let's do a little bit more. Also, keep my hands dirty, not suddenly sort of zoom out, not always be at 40,000, feet level.
So, for example, personal fulfillment was very important for you,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And today, interestingly, Rohit, I was I was seeing a video where Elon Musk was giving an interview, and the interviewee asked that, how do you see the world, 10 years down the line with the advancement in AI, right? And he said that 10 years from now, 90% of the jobs would not be needed. I mean, people will not be needed for 90% of the jobs. And the obvious next question was then, okay, what will people do, right? And he said something which now reminds me when you said about fulfillment is people will find it difficult to figure out what is it that will give them fulfillment, right? So because now everything he said will be available very easily because
Yes.
there's no cost literally because
Yeah.
everything is automated.
Yeah.
There are robots doing it, AI doing it, right? So he spoke about how fulfillment will become very important, which I also feel is the tougher thing to know.
Very
You know,
tough. Yeah.
For example, even if you figured it out, say at 40, 35, whenever.
Yeah.
But I think that's the tough part, which I think people struggle with a lot.
Absolutely. See,
Yeah.
fulfillment is a shifting goalpost. What fulfills you at 20
Yeah,
will
that's
not do at
also-
30, at 40, because you're also layering different curves in your life. Like we tell our portfolio companies, you have to layer different S curves when your growth is flattening. Similarly, in your life, you're layering curves. You're young, you get a girlfriend or boyfriend, whatever. Then you get married. You may have kids, may not have kids, may have pets, whatever. So everything, parents are aging.
Yeah.
You may lose a parent at some point of time, right? So all of this is creating certain context for you where you're defining your fulfillment. So my fulfillment was around and still is around that. I want to create. So creation is a very important aspect of my fulfillment. And there's a small backstory there, which we can talk about, when we get to that. And of course, marketing and creation. This was core to me. And I started realizing, hey, I'm 45, which will be fairly young by today's standards. Not like 20 years ago, when 45 people think of retirement and all of that. It's very young by today's standard. I felt, hey, if I'm not creating things, and if I am not working in small teams, and I'm not having disproportionate impact, and I'm not getting the recognition that I really sort of, I want to get, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
That created a chain of thought, which led to a lot of subsequent things like that. And it could have talked about and Sacra and then Blume.
I'm very interested in knowing how did Blume happen.
Yeah, it's a very interesting thing. So I think there's inbound, there's outbound, there's push, there is pull, and how sort of things will just converge at the right point at the right time. Sounds very philosophical, but that's how it is. So the backstory here is, so there are two parts to this. One is the part where I was getting ready for an opportunity like Blume to present itself. See, now this is my worldview that you have to constantly prepare yourself for an opportunity that may come your way in the future. You cannot predict when it will come. You only have to believe that it will come, but you have to constantly prepare yourself so that when it comes, you're meeting it with full preparation. So in my case, what happened was, I was working with HCL and Shinara Foundation. We were doing truckloads of performance marketing and videos and events, and it was like as scaled out or marketing operation as you can possibly imagine it to be. But I also, in part, I started writing a lot more. I started a little Substack newsletter because there's also like COVID, so Substacks was a big hit and all of that. And then what happened is there's a small publication called Every, popular publication in the US, business publication. They run newsletters. They said, hey, we're looking for new writers. So does anyone want to sort of apply? And I believe in shooting my shot. So I said, yeah, I mean, I had written something which I never thought is great. I just sent it to them saying, hey, this thing. Interestingly, they replied and said, hey, this is great. We want to publish it, but can you work with an editor and like fine-tune it and improve and all? And they paid me for it. Not a princely sum, but not as they paid me $500 for it. I was thinking, okay, so people are willing to not only read my writing, they're willing to pay for my writing. See, payment is where the real truth of everything lies. I can give free product till, like whatever. There's no product market fit. So in some way I found like persona market fit. And then when I was researching for one of my articles, so I started writing more seriously. It's like, okay, let me write more seriously. Maybe I can become a newsletter writer, whatever. And then started writing more seriously. I was doing research for one of my write-ups. I came across a report by this company called Sacra. Very detailed report, very high quality graphics, and it was written in a manner which I have not seen many Indian writers or even US writers write. It was very ELI 5, very easy to understand, but still very in-depth and all. And then at the end of the article, I saw, they're recruiting. Shoot my shot. I wrote to them. They said, yeah, you were in India and all, but you're in the US. But it's a very small outfit, 2-3 people. So I said, yeah, let's chat and all. So we chatted and then we exchanged emails. They gave me like a writing assignment, which I think I did reasonably well because I was genuinely interested in writing. And I was trying to find the craft and all of that. And finally that, yeah, great, let's come on board. So I joined them. I think I was the 4th or 5th person to join them. The 2 co-founders, both based in the US. Now, Sacra was a content company. It was my first proper content role. Completely orthogonal to what I was doing till then. But check the right boxes, like small team, lots of impact. थोड़ा और करते हैं, like doing थोड़ा और मतलब बहुत ज़्यादा और था. It was completely orthogonal to what I was doing. And I was there for a year and I learned a lot about how to write content, how to write social media posts and all that. Because again, I was working with the founders to all of that. Then coming to Blume, why I told this backstory is, had these things not happened in this sequence, probably Blume won't have happened. Because as I was saying before the interview, I've known Blume folks for a while. I've known Sajid for almost a decade now, probably over a decade now, right? We crossed paths when he was at Times and running marketing for Bennett. I was at Sharda running marketing for Sharda. Then I started running marketing for Shiv Nada University. So I know him from that time also. And he lives in Noida, I live in Noida, so we connected often. The role that they were looking for at that point of time, and the role has evolved, after I've joined. This was late 22. Had a creation angle. So because I had done I started taking writing more seriously after my every adventure. By the way, then they changed tracks and said, hey, we don't want to hire a new writer. So otherwise I might have joined every writer, who knows. And then Sacra, because writing got fine-tuned, refined over there. So I had the marketing muscle already. This gave me the writing muscle, which then I further fine-tuned at Blume. But these 2 things had not happened, Blume won't have happened. So there's one part. But the other part is, see, Blume also as a fund has a very strong content DNA. 15 years ago, when Karthik and Sanjay started Blume, Karthik used to send out like these quarterly updates to our investors, our LPs, which if you read them, and some of them we actually open source, which you read them are actually content, like they're super high quality content. Like you don't see now funds doing that kind of LP updates, super high quality, super granular. And Karthik has been himself a great writer. Sajid, of course, a great believer in content. He writes so much content. He creates the Indus Valley Report and all. So Blume already had that content stroke marketing DNA in the fabric. So that's the 2 met and that's how Blume happened.
But both Sacra and Blume happened by chance. Like you didn't plan for it that, okay, now I want to venture into writing and then join a VC firm, right?
Yeah. So as I said earlier, I would have loved to say, I have thought all of this through. Yeah. Probably when I write a book about my life, if at all, I'll probably say all of those things, but not in this podcast. Like, I'm going to be honest because I know you so well. It happened by chance. And the second one, as I said, you don't know what opportunities will present to you. So you have to constantly, if you believe in certain vector in your life, you believe in that this vector can become your superpower. I believe my superpower is creation, writing, content. This came later.
Yeah, but what I also can pick up from what you just said, Rohit, is you said I've done marketing for some time and then I did content creation, right?
Yeah.
Inherently, most marketers think if they're doing marketing, they can also do great content, right?
Yeah.
So for example, the other day I was just chatting with the team and we were talking about, how the content game has changed completely. For example, how you do social media, that has also changed drastically, right? You can't do it the old traditional way, right? But what I see is that, you were very cognizant about where you stand on different aspects and where you want to sort of sharpen it further, right?
Yeah. You have to know what your superpower can be or what it is. I need to play to your strength and then also increase the surface area of luck. See, this happened by chance, but there was high agency involved. I wrote to those people. I stayed in touch with Blume folks. I kept seeing what is happening. They kept seeing what is happening also. Sacra, I wrote, cold mail them. Every I cold mail them. I also cold mailed a bunch of other newsletters, by the way, which did not happen. So it's like how you are a founder, you know how sales work, right? You start with one, this thing says no. Once you again start, it's like, hey, now from this time you'll get a yes. Right? So you have to show high agency and you have to align it to your strengths. The only part is I recognize my strengths at a later in life than I would have honestly liked to be. But again, I take a lot of comfort in Clinton Hutchison writing his seminar work in his 40s. So I take a lot of comfort in that.
Great. Now, Rohit, how does your day look like at Blume, a typical day?
Yeah, very interesting question. So, see, a typical day at Blume would look a mix of, I would say, 3 or 4 activities. So the most important activity for me at Blume, it is where we also generate a lot of our alpha in that sense, is distribution of content. See, content creation is getting easier day by day. It's almost getting free. People can debate on this, and I've debated a lot of people will say, oh no, great quality content still is very difficult and all. Yeah, you can argue on that. But if not now, a few years in the future, creating very high quality content will also be quasi-free. It's how cloud is.
Yeah.
Right. Eventually, beyond a point, everything becomes free. I mean, right now, if you're putting out a LinkedIn post, you're not checking kitna cost hoga meko post ko. It's free.
Yeah.
Right. Or you are running a website on, say, Wix or whatever. 1,000 rupees a year, 2,000 rupees a year. It's almost free.
Yeah.
Content game is changing. So, what is distribution is very important. So, I spend almost a third of my day trying to understand what are the levers of distribution that we can push and actually push those levers. If it is for a partner whom I have to speak to and help use their network to amplify certain content we have done. If we have already written a content piece and today is a D-Day when we are putting it out on our socials, then there are 2-3 things I'm doing. I'm not only putting it on social, I'm also sending it on WhatsApp, doing micro distribution to so many people, and then sort of also asking them, hey, like, can you share it and all of that.
So it's not your typical, okay, this is the content, now push the media button and now it goes to all the channels.
Yeah, no, it's not like that. We, because it is also nuanced. So when I am sending that, see, eventually what do I want? I want the content to be distributed.
Yeah.
Right? So if I'm sending it on WhatsApp to 50 people, one is, I'll send the same message to all 50. Lazy way of doing things. Lower odds of people will say, okay, I know Rohit, ठीक है, मैं कर लेता हूँ retweet, quote tweet, ठीक है. But they will not do it all again and again. I have to fine tune the message. For example, if I'm sending it to, say, someone who is working, who is, say, a founder, I fine tune and say, hey, you should read this article. This has this thing about GTM, and I know you were talking about GTM in the last time we met. So maybe this will help you. I'm not asking him to reshare. Wo reshare karega, it's up to him because he's genuinely liking the article. But I'm sending it to someone whom I know very well. I say, hey, read this, but please also reshare this. All of this is segmented. Right now, we don't have enough AI to sort of power this. But in future, AI can power all of this, right?
Yeah.
But the distribution has to be done today. That's a big aspect of my daily work. I'm distributing. Second big aspect is the creation of content. So at any point of time, I am either writing 1 or 2 pieces, or I'm editing 1 or 2 pieces. I am doing research for a podcast episode or for a write-up we are doing, or I'm doing research for perhaps an LP, like an investor update we have to send out. So that's this thing. Again, like takes more than a third actually sometimes. The rest of the day is essentially coordinating among different team members and different teams within Blume. By the way, in creation, also one important aspect is doing the interviews. A lot of Blume content, and that's a call we took when we joined, a lot of Blume content is interview-led. We talk to founders and operators, we take their wisdom and we open source it at large for everyone else to read.
Surface level that you'll do a bit of secondary research and you will put it out.
No, it is interview. So, for example, when we wrote about how to market your IPO, actually spoke to Ankit of RateGain, who led the IPO marketing. Actually spoke to Trupti of Mama, who led the IPO campaign for them. That's how the IPO thing came. I have not done any IPO marketing. So interestingly, so in that situation, I'm thinking as a journalist. It's a journalistic way of writing. You may not be an expert at everything, but आप questions अच्छे पूछ लोगे. So that is the other part of creation. And rest is we are coordinating different teams. There's a community team. What are they doing? Helping them do their job better. Working with some of the partners on their personal branding, etc., etc.
Got it. But Rohit, one of the things, and while I was researching for this podcast, and I spoke to a few people just to understand what all things would typically people would want to know, right? When it comes to marketing for a VC firm.
Right.
People are still not clear on why does a VC firm needs marketing, which is like the base level question, right? So I also want this podcast to be one of those playbooks.
Sure.
If someone wants to or aspires to join a VC firm as a marketeer, right? Or anyone else who wants to, wants to have a certain career trajectory related to VCs, they should refer to this podcast, right? So help us understand, why do a VC firm needs marketing?
Yeah, great question. I think I'll zoom out a little here is that I think as a marketer working in VCs, and there are other marketers working in VCs, probably we haven't done a great job of sort of demystifying and deconstructing. Like, what do we do? So thanks for, people like you who are now trying to sort of help us give that platform and sort of talk about this a lot more. Because these questions come up, even when I'm recruiting for my team, these questions come up and all. Why do VCs need marketing? So a very simplistic answer is like why all firms need marketing, like any company needs marketing to sell more of the product. Marketing is eventually wrap around product to drive sales, right? Now, if you look at VC industry in India, if you look at just last 1 year, 2024, if you look at this, right? Almost 11 to 12 billion dollar of funds were invested in VCs across stages in startups, close to 11 billion dollars. This was done across almost 1,700 deals. Now, if you put it in perspective, it's almost two and a half deals every day. Probably closer to 3 deals if you take out weekends. It's closer to 3 deals a day. So 3 deals a day on average are getting signed. Which tells you 2 things. One is there's a fair amount of competition to sign deals, right? Because a typical VC doesn't write more than 8 to 10 deals or probably 15 deals in a year. So who is writing all of these? There's so many VCs out here.
So then how many, so for example, these 1,700-1,800 deals is across how many VCs roughly?
So it's tough to gauge a number of VCs in India because some are multi-stage, some are sort of, more early stage and all. But there will be at least 100 plus VC firms in India, right? Probably more because there are lots of micro VCs. See, but there are also angels who are coming in earlier. But forget angels. Only if you look at only institutionalized VCs,
there will be 100 plus.
100 plus, easily 100 plus, probably more. They're all coming at different levels.
Yeah.
They're also competing but also collaborating for different deals and all, right? The second misconception people have about VC as a business is that VC is a business of investing. It's not. It's a business of returns. It's a fine line, but it's a very important line, which is why funds need marketing. So let me deconstruct it a little bit more. It's a little sort of, just stay with me. Just take that leap with me in terms of deconstructing this. See, eventually we are a financial services company. We are a B2B financial services company, right? Now, if you think of a wealth management fund, B2B financial services. They're selling to HNIs, but those HNIs are very evolved. So almost B2B, right? Think of, say, an iBank. B2B, they're brokering deals and all. Think of even ENY and all of that. B2B. So we are a B2B financial services firm in that sense, right? Now, the wrinkle there is we're also an investment firm. So let's think of any other investment firm that people mostly generally understand. A simplest example is a mutual fund. You maybe invest in a mutual fund, I'm investing in a mutual fund. There are millions of people who invest in mutual funds. Do you say mutual fund is a business of investing, or as a user of mutual fund, are you more interested in the returns the mutual fund generates for you? If a mutual fund is constantly generating subpar returns, say everyone is generating 20-25%, and if there is one fund which is generating 5-6% constantly, will it survive?
No.
People will stop giving it money, right? And now to come back to venture capital, right? Why is it such a business of generating returns? See, because we take money from our LPs. LPs could be an institutional LP in India, or it could be an institutional LP in the US. In India, it could be a SIDBI, for example, institutional LP.
Yeah.
Could be lots of other people. And then there is family offices in India, like Catamaran and other large family offices, which also invest in venture. Then there are institutional LPs in the US. Could be Yale Endowment Fund, could be Harvard Endowment Fund, could be a Rockefeller Foundation, all of that. Right? There are HNIs also. Could be a founder who has built a great company. Now he wants to support the ecosystem.
Yeah.
So they're investing in more companies, directly, but also through a VC and all of that. But taking money from there. Which also means you have to return the money with a certain expected IRR, certain expected returns, right? How do you generate those returns? You're investing in startups, but how will you get return from those startups? You're investing in those startups. You are betting on the fact that these founders who are working on this particular product will build enough scale, grow it into a company. And I'm talking from an early stage lens. For a late stage, it'll be very different.
Yeah.
Early stage lens, you're finding these founders, you're giving them money. You're also bringing a lot of intellectual support, marketing support, all of that is different. Let's say these founders who are right now early in their journey will build a scaled out company. Right now, I've taken X% share in them. I've given them $5 million. The company will grow at a certain stage, and at a certain stage, I will exit from the company. Either it will happen through an IPO, the company is an IPO, or it will happen through a merger or an acquisition. Someone acquires a company. Right. For example, HUL acquired Minimalist. IPO, if we have an example, Traction and Swiggy and First, right? Or there will be secondary sale. Someone else who's a late investor will come and buy out my share from the company, right? I'll get an exit. I've got some money. I'll take my profit share from it. I'll give it back to LPs. That is a returns part of it. This is how the VC business, I've given you like a very 60,000 feet view of VC business. To find those founders, how do you find those founders? That is where the sourcing part comes. This is where marketing comes in. Good founders have a lot of choice in terms of who will get on their cap table. Maybe they'll send a cold mail. They'll also find 10 other founders who are already on the portfolio of the VC and get a warm intro. They'll show up in an event, probably gate crash it. So VC is doing some mixer. They're not invited. They just gate crash and show up and say, 5 minutes chahiye sir aapka.
And for those founders is where you have to do marketing for a VC fund.
How do you, so there are two parts to this marketing. This is my TG. Now define my TG. See, eventually all marketing is a simple equation.
Yeah, you have a TG.
There's a TG multiplied by messaging, multiplied by channel, multiplied by frequency.
Yeah.
All marketing is this. We have overcomplicated beyond a point, but it is all marketing, right? I've defined my TG for you. Now comes the messaging part. See, messaging is, there are two parts to messaging. One, I want to talk about my fund.
Thesis
and all of that. But let me zoom on a little bit again. If we've gone a little granular here, you said, why do VC funds in marketing? Aapka TG mil gaya? This is the TG. Founders whom we want to really invest into because we believe, grow karenge, return denge, hamara fund will, it will become an institutionalized VC company, right? How do I find these founders? There are a variety of ways. One could be the partners and the analysts are already in the ecosystem. The entire investment team is an ecosystem, right? They are finding these people. They're responding to cold mails. They're showing up at events and all of that is happening, right? Now, only wrinkle in that is you cannot scale beyond the point. See, if you're a partner, you also have to work with your portfolio. You have to help them grow. You have to run the company. You have to take interviews. You have to also look at your family. How many events can you show up for? You know, how many Zoom calls can you show up for, right? It is a partner-driven fund. The fund sort of, like the partners have a, they sort of set the strategy and the vision for a fund, right? Even if you're a younger sort of team member, again, because you only have 24 hours in a day.
Yeah.
And AI has not yet enabled that multiplication, like the time has not become decompressed suddenly in lots of vectors, right? So you cannot scale it up beyond a point. Then how do you scale it up? That is where the marketing bit comes in. You want the founders to, it works at different levels. How a typical marketing ladder works. One, the founders you want to invest in should know you exist.
So you are in their consideration set.
Exactly. Second, they should know, hey, you are a fund which they want to take money from.
So you're the right fit.
You're the right fit for them. It is maybe because of the way you are presented as a fund, or the kind of companies you have funded,
Hmm.
the kind of partners who are there and all of that, right? Third, they align with the narrative you have about your fund. See, it's like this. Coke and Pepsi same ही बेच रहे हैं. कोई बंदा Coke पीता है, कोई बंदा Pepsi पीता है, right? Shoes. Onitsuke Tiger shoes are infinitely more sort of comfortable than an Adidas shoes.
Yeah.
But some people wear Onitsuke Tiger, some people wear Nike, some people wear Adidas, right? People wear Nike because just do it or whatever. And while people in finance and operations and all of that will argue till death that, oh, this is all bullshit, doesn't work like that, ये सब क्यों पैसे waste करते हैं marketing में? You and I know marketing works in certain ways. So the narrative is also very important. What is the narrative this fund is seen with? Is it seen as a large fund? Is it seen as a fund which backs its founders no matter what in bad situations? Because see, all startups, all founders will have near that situations, bad situations. Does it back them? Till what extent will you go to back them, right? What kind of companies it has backed? Are those companies winners? Because as a winning founder, as an ambitious winning founder, you want to work with
a winning team.
Exactly. Yeah. So that is a narrative. So consideration, right fit, but narrative is also very important. Now, all of this is where the marketing comes in and plays a role. Because this is the only scaled out way of doing this. And also see now the Indian ecosystem also growing. Startup ecosystem is growing. What was there in 2011 when Blume started? And what was there in 2020? Now we are miles ahead of it. There are more companies, second time founders are coming. More VCs have come. 2011, there were 10 VCs, probably 20 VCs when Blume started. Now, there's hundreds of VCs. Competition is not only heated up, the ecosystem is also expanded. It's also very fragmented now. So, you need scaled out mechanisms to do all of these three things. That is why funds need marketing.
Okay, Rohit, I just want to go back on the thing you said about the second thing where founder would want to have the right VC, right?
Right.
Which I think we can call it the founder VC fit, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So how does that works first, and what kind of different VCs? For example, for me at a very base level, someone who is not so aware about the ecosystem, I would put it that way. For me, VCs are either divided by scale, which is at which scale do they really collaborate or invest in a company. Or secondly, they are either sectorally inclined. For example, a particular VC would only invest in, say, SaaS, IT, etc., right? And there might be some other VC firm which might invest in, say, consumer brand, FMCG, etc., etc. Beyond this, what are the other?
It's a great question. Yeah. So what you said is correct. So there are sectoral VCs. There's some companies only D2C, only SaaS. Then there are stage-wise. Blume is only pre-series A. We don't do anything pre-series A for any new investment. Then there are multi-stage funds. We'll do pre-series A, but we'll also do a series B in a completely new company, which is not already part of their portfolio, right? So one is thematic, one is multi-stage versus single-stage fund. From a founder's perspective, there are a couple of other additions to that. Some are quantity additions, some are more qualitative additions for founder VC fit. One is how much money, what is the size of check the VC can write?
Okay.
So it has to match with my requirement. So there are VCs which can write a $500,000 ka check versus the VC which can write $5 million ka check versus someone who can write $10 million ka check. At the C, let's talk about one stage, seed stage right now, right? Yeah. That is one. So it depends on what. If I need like a $5 million to make my company work,
the 500K one is not relevant for me.
This is a quantity. The second quantity part is what is generally the size of the fund of that VC. So for example, suppose abhi maine le liya $5 million. So I'm doing series A. But I also want this fund to again come back in. So there's a concept of pro rata. Fund can invest at a pro rata in that new series which the founder is doing. Can the fund back me there? So that, I like them, I want them to be in my cap table. So can the fund continue to invest in my growth series A, B, whatever stage till they can? That depends on how large the fund is. Small fund cannot do that because you'll be maxed out. So that's the other thing. Again, founder is thinking about this, right? The other quantity thing here is also we've discussed this, but again, what is the stage you are raising at right now? Doing pre-seed, seed, series A, series B, it will self-select the kind of, Also, if you're doing venture debt versus equity, this also, now recently I would say this also bifurcation started coming in. There are pure play venture debt funds. So as a founder, you must say, okay, I don't want to dilute the equity, I'll take debt. This happens mostly later stage, not at seed and all. These are more quantitative aspects which come into picture, right? But then there are also qualitative aspect, right? Which is like, hey, do I like this partner? Because see, eventually the partner is investing into, the partners write the check. So partner is investing in me. Do I like this partner? Can I work with them for next 10 years? Like, do I want to work with them for next 10 years? Can they help me grow as a founder, as a company? Do they have the network to help me recruit people? Do they have the presence in the startup ecosystem to actually help me in raising a Series A round, a Series B round? Do they have the gravitas? In today's terms, we'll call it personal branding. Do they have the personal branding in the ecosystem to have the sort of pull? Do they understand the sector? How deeply they understand the sector? You want to work with someone who understands the sector, right? You're a SaaS founder. You know, next 10 years I have to do SaaS.
So you wouldn't want to work with a...
While you work with D2C fund, right? You will want to work with someone who's a specialist in SaaS.
Yeah.
Because they will have a SaaS network, but they will also have great SaaS insights. जैसे बस GTM में ना enterprise कर रहे हो ना, कोई point नहीं lead gen करने का. आप events में show up करो, find people there, and then expand, land and expand, invest in customer support, land and expand, right? So that is other qualitative thing. Do they have deep sectoral knowledge? All of these qualitative factors come into play. Also, who knows this fund? If I'm an ambitious founder, I'm not going blind. So if I start a company, I'll call up a few founders who I know. तेरे कौन fund किया था? Like हमें कुछ नहीं किया था. अच्छा. You know them, हाँ. Call the other person. अच्छा तेरे को भी उसने किया था. So now I found one fund which is funded two great founders who are my role models. This fund looks very interesting. Can you give me an introduction? Mail ki introduction. So that is a huge qualitative factor. Who knows these people in this? Like who knows this partner? Because see, as a fund, I'm investing 10 years in there. But the founder is also giving 10, 12 years of their life to me, right? So it's a marriage, proper shadi. It's a proper shadi. So both sides have to agree. So I hope I've given a very long answer to your short question. But this is how the founders typically think about.
So essentially, coming back to marketing, as a marketeer for a VC fund, you are essentially expected to communicate the quantity things and the qualitative things, right?
Yes, absolutely. So see, I can talk about Blume. See again, let's just zoom out a little bit. In marketing, there are, as I said, the equation is TG, messaging, channel, frequency. We have discussed TG, we have discussed messaging to a large extent. Channel. You know this as well as I do. If you are, say, D2C firm, channels है, Facebook है, Meta है, Instagram है, ये है. उसमें you can do performance, you can do organic, you can do influencer, whatever, right? You're a SaaS company, you can do LinkedIn, you can do emailers, you can do whatever. There are different channels, right? Even a VC fund, there are multiple channels which exist. Not all VC funds would think of marketing as only content marketing. And it depends on how much weight they want to give to content as a part of the marketing mix that they have. It's a marketing mix and a channel mix, right? At Blume, I think, as I said earlier, because Karthik has a strong content DNA, Sajid has a strong content legacy and a DNA, and the fact that Blume as a company, we index a lot on writing, we index a lot on thesis, we index a lot on sharing our knowledge openly. In Blume's marketing mix, content has a very large share. But there are other ways to do VC marketing. For example, I think we were chatting about this before we came. Hey, if there's a fund where the managing partner or the partnership basically is more oriented towards events, then they will hire someone who is great at doing events. He'll do one event every freaking week. Hackathon karenge, mixer karenge, round table, clinic, all of that. They'll do it for the pipeline, for sourcing the deals, right? They'll do that. That is also part of VC marketing. In fact, there are funds which do more events. They also do some content, but more sort of the marketing means the events have a higher share of voice in their marketing mix
as compared to content.
There is no, I think, given the fact that the playbook is still emerging in India. The VC marketing playbook is still emerging. What I can definitely say is, hey, content marketing in VC really works. I have seen it work. At Blume, we have seen it work. I don't know the events playbook works that strongly, or there's a paid marketing ebook like playbook. I've not seen anyone do it, but maybe someone can crack it some point of time. Does that work? Maybe it will work. Maybe it will not work. I don't know. Content marketing works in VC. Events can also work. Yeah.
But when you joined Blume, and probably this was your first stint in VC fund, and also you said that there are no playbooks as such, right? But I'm sure US being a more mature market with VC funds being around for much longer time, right? Did you take inspiration from what VC funds do in US?
Whole lot of. So it's a great question. That. Yeah, a great question. So it seems like this. So I joined Blume, and the charter, it's a blank slate when I'm joined with guardrails. Like I can create stuff, but there's some guardrails where you don't cross them, right? So where do I look? I look west, as you said. There are two models of content so there are in fact three models of content which exist in West in successful funds. And West has seen more funds. All of the large VC firms are at 10th fund, 12th fund, 15th fund, I don't know, God knows what. And India maybe 5th, 6th fund pe abhi hum log, right? One model is benchmark model. Benchmark is a very successful VC firm. Bill Gurley, Sarah Tabel, all of them, very successful VC fund. If you open their website, and I would encourage, if during this podcast when you're editing, please put a screenshot of the website on the screen. The website is single page. It only gives addresses of their two offices and a link to their portfolio's Twitter accounts.
Okay.
That is marketing for them. They don't do anything else. That is one way of doing marketing, but there's a nuance and I'll come to it. But that is one. They don't have a website. That is the website. That is it. Nothing.
They're not communicating their thesis. They're not.
I'll come to that. Yeah, so that is one model. So that just stay with me on that. So that is what I looked. Wow, Benchmark not doing any content marketing. Like अब क्या करना मैं क्या करूँगा? अब क्या करना है यहाँ पे? Then also looked at then there's an A16Z model of content marketing. A16Z is a supremely successful fund, right? There are legends in Silicon Valley and all. See, their model of marketing was more about capturing the narrative. They are massive narrative strategies they had with them. Some of the editors who work with them, some of the marketers who work with them, they all came from PR communications background. So to the extent they actually bought a domain called future.com. All the editorial content, all the founder content, all advice for the founders was posted on future.com. I don't know what gazillions, millions of dollars they had to pay for that. I don't know how they got access to us. Crazy they did that. A VC firm buying future.com and hosting all the content there. The wrinkle there is that at least to us, at least to me, and when I work with Karthik and Sarjit, who are like content sponsors in that sense, seemed a little prescriptive. It's sort of coming from a superior position, sort of telling people, oh, this is how it is, this is how it is. Nothing wrong with it. That is what I do, but that is how it is. Incidentally, they no longer work on future.com. They sort of have shelved that project and now they do other things. The other is the first round capital format of marketing, which is like this. They had this very interesting lady called Camille Ricketts who joined them from Notion. She was the head of community and content in Notion. She joined them. And the playbook she created was, she said, hey, what do founders want to know? What mistakes other founders are making or what success other founders are having, right? Why don't we tell it to them? So their entire model is based on, so they created a newsletter which is called First Round Review. Obviously Harvard Business Review model, name is modeled on that. They made a kick-ass website called review.firstround.com. All content is hosted there. And if you look at the website, all content is interview-led. They'll go and talk to their portfolio. They'll go and talk to non-portfolio. By the way, this is all an important distinction, which Blume, I'll come to Blume's point of view on this. They'll talk to portfolio, non-portfolio founders, operators, distill into long-form articles. That resonated a lot with us. That also resonated because I have seen some of the other companies do it successfully. For example, Intercom. Intercom is this big ass SaaS company. This is exactly their content playbook. Equals, another very successful company, exactly their playbook. So when I join as a content marketer, and I also want to create content by the way in Blume, so I'm saying, hey, I don't have sectoral expertise. I don't know how SaaS companies work. I know Upper, like this. I can't. Also, I don't have source credibility. See, today, if I talk about, Neeraj, for example, today you talk about marketing. People will listen to you. But suddenly you start talking about finance and accounting. People will say, like, hey, like, why should you listen to Neeraj about finance? You listen to a finance person. So you need to have source credibility also. Right. I had no source credibility in D2C or in SaaS and all. So we took a journalistic approach, copied the first round model. So first round is what we really like. That is the model in some sense has inspired a lot of Blume's marketing. I publicly acknowledged it also multiple times on social media. So after joining Blume, was this your first exercise where you looked at all these companies from the web? It started around that time, slightly before joining Blume because I had a little bit of a gap. So I said, let me sort of, I am not yet painted by what people will tell me when we start over there. Of course, lots of help where people sort of chimed in, this is what you should look at, this is what you should look at and all. But that was a model which I felt, hey, is going to work and it has worked. Not saying we are not doing we are doing Indus Valley Report, which is original research. We do Omega Files, which is original research on proprietary data. It's all our data that we research on, right? We do a lot of theses. We do theses on micro topics like HVAC, like green hydrogen. We also do macro thesis, which is on EdTech, which is on elder care, which is the investment team creates. The point is, content team can amplify that. Content team cannot write it, and I think strongly should not aspire to write that. It will be a fool's errand. Don't have domain knowledge, don't have domain source credibility. So content team should do what content team. Again, it's a right to win issue. No, आपका right to win कहाँ पे? In accessing right people and distributing that content. That is how the first round review happened. We really inspired. That is what has guided Blume's content strategy. One of the inputs, of course, not the only input because we do other things also. But a strong influence, and thanks to Camille Ricketts, and if I'll probably send a clip to this to her whenever if she gets to watch it. So, how would you define Blume's marketing playbook today? So there are multiple layers to it. See, so I can slice in different way, but at a strategic level, we define the framework is very simple. We follow a typical Hygiene-Hub-Hero framework, which all content marketers and consumers are very well aware. There are different content IPs which sit at different levels in this. For instance, the Blume podcast, the Omega Files, Indus Valley Report, these are hero content for us. So that means they're only run once a year. There's a certain amount of distribution you put in. There is a lot more expectation for these to succeed, and you also put a lot more effort to amplify and get them to places. Right? Second is hub content. All the theses we write, all the content that we create as a content marketing team, any article that the founders have written and we want to republish. We also create a lot of other video content. We'll talk to a founder and we'll say, okay, tell us about your journey, whatever. We'll talk to a partner in the fund and say, okay, tell us, deconstruct what venture capital fund is about. Let's tell people about what do secondaries look like? How do venture funds exist? We did like a full series with Karthik on what do exits look like for venture capital funds, because people don't understand exits in India, right? So all of it is hub content. We do it once a quarter, once a half a year. And then everything else is hygiene, social media posts, updating the website, but we also have newsletters. That is hub content for us. We are razor focused on our newsletters. Right now, I think we probably have the largest read newsletter in the entire venture ecosystem. It's, I think till I last checked, we had around 65,000 subscribers, which makes it probably also largest newsletter in India in general on business. But definitely in the venture ecosystem, one of the, if not the largest, one of the largest newsletter. So that is how we look at our content strategy. Look at these levels, we look at what all sits over there. Any new side quest, and every year we relook. So this year I'm already reviewing for the F5. Hey, what all we can retire, what all we should add to this, and how how does it sort of again amplify the messaging part of it, the narrative and all the three things I told you. So we review it every year, every quarter, every half year. But that's it's a very simplistic content strategy if you think of it. Or only simple things work in the world. So
Right.
I have heard of these stories for some that people stop getting called for events and all, and they are not supported and all. We support everyone. That is the level of founder indexing. A founder calls me at 12 o'clock at night also. Even yesterday, I was exchanging messages at 1 a.m. with the founder. They are doing some press release today. Getting late and all. I was up. I said, boss, मैं करके ही सोऊंगा आपके साथ. आप प्रेस रिलीज बना लो, 1 बजे कुछ नहीं होता, हम करके ही सोएंगे इसको.
Usually by the side of a founder.
Yeah, by the side of the founder. Yeah, but that also means that when the founder is doing well, Blume is also ready to support them. We'll help them find a Series A investor. We'll help them find a Series B investor. We'll help them find a CMO when they're ready to get a CMO. We'll unlock sales for them in the US. मतलब खाली बुरे टाइम में साथ नहीं देंगे, अच्छे टाइम में साथ देंगे. So अच्छे टाइम में Blume पूरा will catapult them into next league.
But how does this translate into marketing? So, for example, what you told me is essentially more of Blume's DNA in terms of how the company, the partners, the investment team, everyone is very founder indexed or founder focused, right?
Yes.
How does that translate into the marketing that you do?
2-3 ways it translates into. So first of all, we'll go back to the kind of content we create. All of that interview-led content. For example, if I'm creating a content on how to do a fundraise announcement, playbook बना दिया उसका, लोगों को दे दिया, right? That is being founder friendly, right? I'm literally telling, and I'm not telling only my portfolio. I'm telling the entire startup ecosystem, boss, this is the playbook to do a successful fundraise announcement.
But just for my understanding and audience's understanding, what would be just for the distinction, what would be a non-founder focused content versus a founder focused content?
Yeah. See, I think there are two extremes. I don't think any venture fund will ever do a non-founder focused content, because what's the point of doing that? Right? There's no point. It will vary from how useful it is to the founder. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how useful it is. It will not be 0 ever. What's the point of doing a non-founder friendly content? Right? See, as Blume, I have 40-50,000 followers on Twitter. I still got a Twitter. And I have around 140-150,000 followers on LinkedIn. मिला जुला के 2 लाख लोगों का मेरे पास followers है social media. Right? Other funds have more, other funds have less. You can just quick cursory look, you can see how many times at Blume we actually amplify milestones of our portfolio companies, not just funding milestones. They recruited a CXO. They created a customer advisory council. They had a holy celebration or whatever. They launched a new product. They are recruiting someone. Job click kisi open ki application. They have conducted some symposium where some minister came and sort of gave them an award. How many times a fund does that for their portfolio company in a week? Just go to social media handles of some of the funds in India, abroad, and just check the frequency of Blume. We are by far the highest. Like, there is no comparison. We are by far the highest. And it is not because suddenly Rohit came and said, oh, हमें ये करना चाहिए. It is because we are founder indexed.
That's the DNA of the
That is the DNA of the fund. Yeah, that is, as you said, how does it translate into marketing? This is what translates into marketing. So, on my calendar, I actually have time blocks. This is how
I'll just review.
I'll just go through
portfolio companies and
retweet whatever is important. Blind retweet. I'm not getting into details ki kya tha. Like, ये अच्छा काम कर रहा है ना portfolio, उसको retweet करना चाहिए. Suppose a portfolio launches a podcast, I will amplify the shit out of it. That is how the portfolio will win, right? You see, the way things are moving these days, distribution has become all about sweating the small things. Because as we've been discussing before, we spoke about this now also. AI आ गया है, content creation has become cheaper, freelancers are worried about their jobs, so they have crashed their rates. Human in the loop is also very cheap now. So अब आप to sweat the small details. If you're not sweating the small details, I'm sorry, in a post-AI world, you're just not going to make it. You could be a fund, you could be a company, you could be whoever. Everyone has to sweat their details. So this is one part of sweating details. There are other aspects, the kind of clinics we run for our founders, the community and how they engages with them. That's also part of marketing. So there are a variety of ways in which the founder indexation actually shows in what we do. It's all on the ground.
So, Rohit, I'm sure like any other marketeer sitting in any sort of company, at Blume also you would have certain KPIs, right?
Yeah.
And you would have quarterly reviews,
Yeah.
typically, right? How does that look like, and what are your KPIs?
At the start of the year, I committed, okay, we will publish
X number.
X number of content pieces. We will publish Y number of tweets or LinkedIn posts or whatever. We will produce Z number of videos. Have we achieved that target or not? Second is we also look at the growth in our distribution, which is a slightly more output oriented. But the weightage of that is less because distribution is also a function of organic versus paid.
Paid, yeah.
So if I want to
We
don't do any paid. We don't do any paid. Everything is organic. All our growth is organic. If our podcast gets 100,000 views, that's organic. If it gets 1,000 views, that's organic. Everything is organic. So that's the other part where I'm constantly seeing newsletter subscriber growth, LinkedIn impressions growth, Twitter impressions growth.
But do you guys take targets in terms of, okay, now I have to reach X number of subscribers?
We take this, these are usually softer targets that we take. It's a range. I think this year we can do this to this because I'm not spending. So the deterministic part is low. If you spend, you know, roughly, I'll spend X $1,000, I'll reach Y million people. Right? Because we're not spending it, it's organic. So what we do is we'll say a range. This range में साल के end तक end करेंगे, and usually it is always benchmarked on what we did last year. Can we do better than that? Rather than checking what are we sort of, what are other people doing and all. That said, we have grown. I think we are the second biggest LinkedIn VC page in India. And yeah, so that is the other part of KRA.
But do you also link it to things like, for example, last year we had these many companies reaching out to us, which is typically sale leads, and then out of them, these are the relevant ones.
We don't do that.
Which is like MQLs and SQL. You don't do that.
Because we, our website, for example, we encourage people, the founders who are reaching out to us, to reach to us through a warm intro. So because we are not driving that funnel, and that's a very company level, like a partnership decision, it has been taken, and we don't want that sort of thing to happen. We don't have that funnel, and we don't have that part of KRA. We measure social media impressions and podcasts. When we started the podcast season, I spoke to Karthik, what is it that we want? So we had a number ki isse zyada hona chahiye. We obviously blew way past it, like way past it. It's a different thing. But obviously we have those targets. So we have those targets. We also have something called stretch KRAs, which is a very unique, maybe, I don't know, maybe unique or not, but it's a very interesting Blume thing. If it is a poor KRAs, stretch means, can you go above and beyond on some, these are not passion projects, this is not Google 80/20. It's a core part of your work, but stretch. For example, last year one of my KRAs was, I wanted to create this field notes thing, which is an IP that I have. This is my stretch KRA. Because I realized, रोजमर्रा काम में तो नहीं हो पाएगा. So I have to figure out some creative solution to do it.
Right.
मैं stretch KRA. Like if I stretch, I'll be able to do this. Right. Similarly, a booklet that I wanted to create last year on founder stories, which I couldn't. We were calling it Pathfinders. They're stretch KRAs. So, but a lot of KRAs are input oriented, but some of these quant KRAs exist. Lot of it is around creation and basically creation distribution.
So, Rohit, you're mentioning a lot of these IPs that has been created, right? Whether it is Blume Podcast, the Indus Valley Report, or Field Notes, right? So, why do you need so many IPs, and how does that help the fund?
Great question. See, these IPs all sit under the hero bucket, which I was talking about earlier. There are two theses that exist for this. See, one thesis is this, that as AI is making content creation easier, hygiene content has been completely commoditized. Social media post तो AI लिख देता है आराम से, आप थोड़ा बहुत करके कर सकते हो. It's not that difficult, right? It will pick up your tonality. Hub content 50/50. It can give you a decent first draft, you edit, get a human in loop, and do this. Hero content is where still a lot of human element is needed.
Yeah.
But where AI helps is it can fast track it. So earlier, if I could do one hero in a year, now because of AI, I can do two, perhaps two. Thoda research, फटाफट लिख देगा.
AI more for optimizing your
optimizing the output, becoming more productive.
Yeah.
Right? So which means we need to do more IPs because that is where differentiated content is living now. Everything else is getting commoditized, right? The differentiated content तो यहीं पे रह रहा है आज का. So all of these IPs. The second is, and I was joking about this earlier, is see unless your content or your event is getting shared in Bangalore WhatsApp circles, it is not buzzy enough, right?
That's the ultimate KPI.
That's the ultimate KPI for any content marketing distribution person. If any funds are listening to it, you should probably add this to your fund, your marketing person's KRA. But no disrespect to Delhi, NCR, or Bombay startup founders or whatever, but the buzz gets created there. It has to be forwarded in WhatsApp, this thing, and an IP which you're doing once a year or once a half year has that much more legs, that much more exclusivity for it to get sort of seen over there. So we're actually investing a fair amount of this in IP. At the same time, I think we also need to do a little bit more work on, I'll be a little more self-reflective here in terms of how we brand them a little better. So right now they all seem sort of here and there, but yeah, we're working on that branding. It's all eventually a journey. But that's what there are two reasons. One is it's easier to create them, so we should create more. That's where differentiated content lies. Second, that is what gets us disproportionate distribution. Like, for example, field notes we spoke about. I'll give two examples. One is field notes, one is a book that we did recently. So field notes is basically all the L&D sessions which happen internally at Blume. We looked at transcripts. I got a very good freelancer, young lad. He went to hundreds of transcripts, converted that into a 180-page ebook. On the website, it's much easier to read. It's not 180-page PDF. But it has 15, 20 founders and operators. Their best, highest quality, purest insights are distilled in that. कहाँ मिलेगा?
Which the ChatGPT will not give you.
नहीं दे सकता ChatGPT. कोई नहीं दे सकता. वो प्लस वो in-house session थे. हमने उसमें से extract करके डाला. We obviously showed it to them and they thumbed it up and said, "Oh, great!" And they were very happy. See, this is also founder indexing.
Yeah, exactly.
Interestingly, if we cover 30 founders operators on them, only 10 were Blume portfolio companies, 20 were non-Blume portfolio companies. We will take best content for our ecosystem founders from everyone. We don't distinguish, अच्छा ये Blume founder नहीं इससे बात नहीं करेंगे.
So North Star is very clear कि मेरी portfolio companies के जो founders हैं उनको मैं कैसे help कर सकता हूँ. So before even becoming a portfolio company, a founder should feel, yeah, I have got immense help,
immense value
from Blume. So this is the right fund for me.
Yeah, exactly. The second is books, sir. We just launched the book. Took the Blume podcast. We've already done that. Distilled it, again got a very good freelancer. Distilled it into a book. This book is permanent. Podcast लोग भूल जाते हैं अगले सीजन आते हैं, right? But book is permanent. You keep it at your bedside. You carry it in a plane. When you're carrying it in a plane, you open it up. People are saying, "Oh, good, interesting book. Oh, Blume. Oh, what is Blume? Oh, fund. Book publish करता है." In fact, I made a very provocative tweet when we released the book this week. It's like, why does a fund need a book? These stories have to be told. If we will not tell the stories, who will tell these stories? Permanently storytell kiya, and again, it has distribution benefits and all. So the IPs, just to summarize my long answer, it's becoming much easier to do hero content. So we do more IPs. The tailwind है, हमारे पास tailwind है, हम use कर रहे हैं. Second, these are the ones which get shared a lot more, gets us a lot more distribution. Also the founder indexing part. If today I can tell a young D2C founder story of Mr. Harsh Mariwala through a book, 5 most important lessons, which is actually part of the narrowcast, Winning Beyond Boundaries, that the book we published just now, it's part of that. No better service for him, no? वो पढ़ के लग रहा है यार ये तो मैं करना चाहिए था, मैं क्यों नहीं कर रहा? That is all founder service.
Very interesting, because as a part of our philosophy of the slow marketing, which I was telling you about, right? We have been indexing a lot on creating IPs, because that's how you build sustainable brands. So I'll probably use this section to promote slow marketing.
For sure.
Yeah. Rohit, not many marketeers, and for our podcast, there are a lot of marketers who watch this podcast. They don't even have a VC fund in their consideration sets. For example, if someone is looking to switch a job, they would typically not even think about a VC fund, because किसी को पता नहीं है कि यार VC फंड्स को मार्केटिंग चाहिए, और सेकंड अगर चाहिए भी या कोई हायर करे so they don't know what will that role look like. Okay, so shed some light on that. First, why should people consider this as an opportunity, and what are the good aspects that can really help their career? And secondly, from a fund perspective, or for a marketeer, what are the traits that they need to have to be
Sure.
able to perform successfully for a VC fund?
Sure. So, there are 2-3 ways to look at this. See, one is this, that so I'll start from the last question first, because that is the most important question. Goes back to self-fulfillment thing, we were discussing earlier. You need to have a few qualities to even consider working in a VC fund as a marketing person. A is you should have a DNA of creating stuff and not just reviewing stuff, like getting your hands dirty.
Yeah.
Because if you are not creating for the fund, you're definitely going to create something for your portfolio. Portfolio को storytell कर रहे होगे, उनकी help करोगे, whatever. You will not be in approval and sign कर दिया mode. You're all sitting just in quarterly reviews. That is one. Second, I think you should sort of generally expect, this is true for most VC funds in India, that you will have a lean team.
Yeah, because it will never be a 10-20 people team.
It will not be. Some funds have, but then the team also advises the portfolio companies.
Okay, got it.
So that's the other part. You should have a DNA to do a 0 to 1 journey. Because see, the way VC funds are in India, from a content marketing perspective, we are all in a 0 to 1 journey. We're not in a 1 to 10 journey. 0 to 1 journey ka DNA is very different from 1 to 10 journey ka DNA. Not all 0 to 1 marketers can successfully rewire themselves for a 1 to 10 journey. So 0 to 1 journey karne ka aapke paas hai. Can you hustle? Can you work with freelancers? Can you get the freelancers updated quickly? Can you create some stuff yourself? Can you do a social media post? Okay, this will be semi-controversial, but if you look at any, say, a very sort of large CPG firm today, if you look at this CMO, can they actually create a social media post which will get 100 likes?
Yeah. This is precisely we were discussing.
I would really doubt that. The odds of that, I think, probably will be in a 2 out of 10 or 1 out of 10, probably 0 out of 10. Because they are not creating. They think they can create. But when you actually get down to creating, every post has certain nuances. Every platform has certain nuances. Right? So that's the other thing. You'll have to have get your hands dirty. वो आप बैठ के ज्ञान नहीं दे सकते.
अगर आपको चाहिए कि भाई मैं कहीं बैठ के खाली plans review करूं, approve करूं, तो VC fund is not for you.
हाँ. Plus, you should be able to deal with ups and downs a lot. आपके में होगा ups and downs. You're doing some event, नहीं take off किया. You are working in the portfolio company. You advise them कि press ऐसा करते हैं, press flop हो गया. Or they ran a campaign based on your advice. नहीं चला. You have to be very this thing. Also, you have to understand. See, you have to be okay with being in an advisory sort of room. I'm not saying advisory in a sense you have to be consultant, but if your personality is consultative,
that is very important.
That is very important, because if you work with portfolio, or you're working even within the fund, you're working with the partners, you're working with the investment team, you're working with the community team, you have to be consultative and get people together. If you are not consultative in nature, if you're authoritative, नहीं boss, like I'm thumping a table, ऐसे ही होगा. It's going to be very tough, because the founders will also say, boss, like, मतलब हम तो like, you work, collaborate with us,
Yeah.
But I know of marketers who are very thumb the table. This is the way it should happen, because what I've done it this way or whatever.
The other important aspect which I feel is to be able to work across different type of founders in this case, or people who could be, say, partners. Secondly, also to be able to dabble across different sectors or industries, right?
Absolutely.
So, for example, even when you're interviewing founders for content for Blume, you must be speaking to founders from different industries at different level of maturity, right? Some founder might be a second or third time founder. Someone might be just fresh out of college but still building, right? So one should also have that aspect.
You should be adaptable. Like our partners, like they respond to their mails on their own, for example. They're senior people, right? you should have the adaptability. Founder maybe 20 years का भी हो सकते हैं, 50 years के भी हो सकते हैं,
Right.
कहीं भी in the spectrum,
Yeah.
first, second, third, whatever. You ego नहीं लाना पड़ेगा बीच में. Your ego you should set aside. You know, a lot of large CPG companies, this thing, because they're sort of mollycoddled by all the agencies and all. Sorry, not Dunkin' agencies, but all these large agencies, how you know how they are.
Yeah.
Young agencies are different.
All
All these large agencies, you know, they have now mollycoddled all these CMOs to the extent, sir, ले जाकर शूटिंग करेंगे, सर हॉस्पिटल जाकर शूटिंग करेंगे, उसमें वो कतरीना कैफ आएगा and all of that. They mollycoddled a lot. ईगो बहुत आ जाता है, एरोगेंस आ जाता है.
That will not work.
एरोगेंस सर VC स्पेस में मार्केटिंग रोल में नहीं काम करेगा, वो कंसल्टेटिव होना पड़ेगा. You have to be consultative. You can take people together with you. See, you're also shaping the firm's narrative, no?
Yeah.
How do you shape firm's narrative? You take people. Otherwise, people will say, okay, you write whatever narrative, I don't give two hoots about it. Take people together with you. So ego you have to keep aside. So a large, this thing, yeah. If you have these qualities, I think VC funds are a phenomenal place to work. Because you get to work on different projects, different sectors, talking to founders. The energy level is so high. You really get a lot of thrill out of that. So if you can do all of that, also you're creating things from scratch. Because playbook नहीं है ना, creating things from scratch and all. तो वो curiosity होना चाहिए.
So Rohit, now we'll sort of come to the closing part of our conversation, and we have something called rapid fire round.
Okay.
And this is also a surprise for you. But so I'll have questions for you, and we'll expect.
I don't see a hamper, Neeraj. Huh? Give me a hamper if I get it right.
Yeah. So short, crisp answers.
Sure.
So the first one is Bangalore versus Delhi for you.
Delhi.
Okay. Bangalore WhatsApp group.
But Delhi. Sir, Delhi. I'm a Delhi boy. So
Yeah.
Delhi, yeah. And Delhi has, we have Zomato.
Yeah.
We have India Mart.
Right.
We have lots of startups which have IPO'd, which have given exits. So Delhi.
Okay. Your go-to app or the first app that you use in the morning?
Twitter.
Okay.
I just want to see what happened overnight, what people have written about our fund, what has tweeted, what our portfolio companies have tweeted, what have they up to, and all of that. Also, I tweet a lot from my own account to see what is happening, and then generally get a pulse check. What generally is happening? Twitter.
And your most used app?
WhatsApp. It's also because at Blume we are a very WhatsApp oriented this thing, and generally start
one.
There are some 2,000 groups I'm part of.
Wow.
All found. I think the entire startup ecosystem works on WhatsApp, not Slack, interestingly. So India is a Slack country.
Yeah.
So WhatsApp.
Got it.
All the way.
Your favorite shark from Shark Tank?
Wow, that's a huge one, sir.
Why?
So 2-3 reasons. I think he has actually built a generational company. He has built it in a way which made a lot of common sense. Not getting driven by jargons and all. Like, for example, what investors are saying, पहले चश्मे घर जाते थे. अब लोग कहने मुझे घर चश्मे नहीं अच्छा लगता, मेरा घर छोटा है, दूर है, whatever. तो दुकान खोल दी. Omni channel क्या है? He doesn't care. In fact, that is what he's been on our podcast. So I have heard him say all of this. I was sitting next to him when this podcast getting recorded. He has built it through common sense. He has built it through hustle, and he's built into a generational company now. He's institutionalized. He's got tier 2, tier 3 leadership, CXOs who can build this company forward. That's why.
Your favorite shark outside of Shark Tank, so which could be any, investor.
Any angel? Yeah. I would have actually said like Kunal Behl in that sense, but now he's also a shark in this season.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, Kunal Behl came in this particular season. Okay. But I think one of my favorites angel investors, so to say, over the years, whom I've seen do really well, is actually Apurva Chamaria, whom we know both know very well.
Yeah.
I think there are very few people in the ecosystem who are, again, like as founder indexed as sort of Blume is, and the level of support he gives apart from the funds or kind of people he pull in and all. I think Apurva is just phenomenal. So I would say Apurva Chamaria.
Beyond Blume, if you have to work for any other VC fund, which would that be?
Will not be anything in India.
Globally?
Globally, if you have to ever work, it'll first round capital.
First one. Cool. So I think we will have a hamper for you.
Thank you.
Rohit,
I'm
but-
kidding.
But that was a great conversation,
Thank you
mate.
so much.
And I hope this is a really helpful podcast and conversation for marketeers and even beyond marketers. I think there's a lot of things that founders in general can learn from this podcast from a content standpoint and thought leadership standpoint. And yeah, I mean,
Great, great. Thanks for having me, Neeraj.
Yeah.
Great, lovely conversation. Thank you so much.